Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, we are.
So, lily girl, what make you praise me so? Come out to 14 and into 15, I make a praise so. Come out to 14 and into 15, I make a praise so. Lily girl, what make you praise me so? Lily girl, what make you praise me so? I make money down and a man hold me hand and I make a praise so. I make money down and a man hold me hand and I make a praise so. Stupid Gary, let's shame mommy. Go marry. Go one gold ring. Stupid gold ring. Stupid lily girl, what make you praise me so? Lily girl, what make you praise me so? This make a praise, that make a praise, this make a praise so. This make a praise, that make a praise, this make a praise so. Lily girl, what make you praise me so? Lily girl, what make you praise me so? He make a praise, she make a praise, you make a praise so. He make a praise, she make a praise, you make a praise more. Lily girl, what make you praise me so? Lily girl, what make you praise me so?
All right. Hey, guess what? Good night. My name is Mark Benshop. Welcome to Straight Up. We're going to rock and roll for just about an hour. Share the link and let the people know that we are on talking politics, of course, and talking sensible politics. We want you to be able to do the right thing. And you know what I mean? We want you to do the right thing with your votes. And when you vote to save Guyana. You're voting to save Guyana from the mess that it's in right now from these corrupt vagabonds who's in office. And you want sensible people. You want people who have the country at heart, mind you. Okay, we're going to talk about lots of that and more. You can't jump from one corrupt set to another corrupt set, mind you. No matter how some of their friends and their cronies going to whine and dance. Sorry about that, but my name is Mark Benshop. Welcome to Straight Up. We're going to rock and roll tonight. We have Wayne Caesar should be coming on with us. And our good friend, our good American friend, Tom Anderson, who has a book that's out, and you've got to support the brother. Regardless of what, and it wouldn't be isms and no schisms or nothing, because we don't do it like that right here on 107.1 FM. We deal with issues, and that's what we deal with. We deal with good stuff right here on 107.1 FM. What's happening in your neck of the woods? All of you, good people out there, and good night to all the folks. We heard that they have some good folks at the Burby Psychiatric Ward. They watch us as well. And not all persons suffering from whatever they're suffering do that 24/7. They catch themselves, go back again, catch themselves, go back again. Sorry about that. My name is Mark Benjab again. Welcome to Straight Up. We are going to rock and roll. Elections fever, right? Last evening there was a launch. Was it last night? The PNCR, they had their launch at the Square of the Revolution. And some people, they arguing over crowd and what crowd was big and the crowd was small and the crowd, all manner of things. But I'll tell you this, it was a good launch. It's a good opening. You know, like you're dealing test cricket and you get the opening batsman. I think it was a good opening. I'm not going to say it could have been better. I'm not going to go down that route. Elections right around the corner, and we have to have sensible people elected into office who can save Guyana. This is not about saving an individual. This is not about saving self. This is not about stupidity. This is not about ignorance. This is not about yeah. This is about saving a country. And in order to save a country, you've got to get good people in office. Democracy is what it's about. And this is not people who are losing their cools and running out of patience because they don't understand the essence of a democracy and values in a democratic society. You know what I mean? But we're here to talk about Straight Up. Here's what I want to talk to you guys. What's going on with the PPP? Our executive producer said that Tom Anderson, oh yes, Tom Anderson is with us, a man who put his life on the line for Guyana. More than many who now pomposetting themselves. Tom is the guy. Tom is the guy. I know one or two bumps going to raise, but Tom is the guy. Tom Anderson is the guy. That's it. There are people who are sticking to their guy, and we've got to stick to Tom Anderson. He means well, he does well, and he's been batting for us in Guyana. And we've got to continue to respect and bat for this brother. But before we get into that, hey, what is the PPP up to? Check at their campaign launch. Where is it? On the quarantine? Take a listen, guys. What happened a couple nights ago on the quarantine? It's called Albion Sports Complex, I believe. It was an embarrassment. Not the people dancing, but the launch itself, the PPP's launch. Tom, I bet you can't do that dance. I bet you can't do that dance. The
man.
Launch on the quarantine.
Wild stuff. Hello, everybody. No, I would not do that dance. I cannot do that dance.
Let's go back again, Tom. You got to be a Guyanese, you know. You got to be a Guyanese, an honorary Guyanese. And Tom, as always, I thank you for so much that you do and unearth corruption. Some people bumps raise when they hear the word corruption and all sort of things. But let's go back to the PPP. What an embarrassment. Again, not to this young lady, but they felt good that they're going to video her dancing. I'm not going to say whether she got a box of cook-up or whatever. I'm not going to go that route. But let's go here again. Come on, PPP. Come on. And then after that, that wasn't all. Check this controversial so-called minister. Just check him out. In the meanwhile, let me thank those of you who are sharing the link and who have shared the link already. Thank you all so much. We got lots of links to share. Lots of links to share right here on 107.1 FM. Take a listen again to this PPP launch. Oh, my God. Look, that's a song by a guy named Sonny Man. I like the song, but is that the political message that they're singing? Lo telal, cum lo telal. De lote boji. De lote boji. So this is a song saying what they're doing in terms of, to that Bauji. Bauji means sister-in-law. Bauji, the Lote Bauji. Lote Bauji, right? At a PVP launch. Chetty Jagan must be turning in his grave. Chetty Jagan must be turning in his grave. And let us welcome Wayne Caesar as we go back again to the PPP's launch, Albion under quarantine. It was the lowest turnout. It was a big embarrassment because they were more focusing on Lote Body. All right, Bauji walked in. Bauji walked in right away. Right away, they said their vice president is there. Lote Bauji. What an embarrassment for a turnout there. Mr. Caesar, good night. Mr. Tom Anderson, good night, and welcome to Straight Up. How are you guys been?
Good night. I've been great. How about you? Wayne's the man. He did a great job over the weekend. Good job, man. Great job.
Yeah, well,
thank you so much. All right, let Mark go ahead. I don't know what he did, but
it is what it is. I don't know. Are you talking, Tom, about this here? I don't know. Look, I like those songs, mind you. Don't get me wrong. But at a campaign rally, that's all. There is no message. There's no substance. There's nothing at all. Let's start off right away with, by the way, yes, good program this weekend. And on Friday, I believe, was it Friday or Thursday? Good program with the former shadow, sorry, not whip, chief whip, that is, sorry.
Chief whip, yes.
Yeah, wonderful program as well, too. So, and good program, and over to you. So Tom is being very observant. Tom is continues to look into Guyana. Thank you so much, Tom, for continuing. Almost 20 years you've been looking into Guyana. You know who is who. You know the real players. You know what they're about, not the antabantics and the acrobats and the real players in Guyana when it comes to corruption. But Tom, what is your take of those songs and the dancing up and winding up at a political rally? Absence of any sort of real message and hope for the people of Guyana.
Yeah, everything you've heard up until these, the two parties launching was the PPP saying that the APNU, they have no substance, they have nothing to offer. They say this, but they don't have anything to offer at all to the people of Guyana, nothing but going backwards and not having any money and not having anything around. This is what they put out there. But when you look at the two launches, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. APNU, man, they really laid it down. They really laid out a very strong domestic national message. In the PPP, I mean, they're just, I guess from their perspective, it's all, glam and whatever looks good on camera, and that's going to get some votes. But I think they might be making a mistake. I think their launch could have been a lot better. But, they're having some struggles, I think, the PPP. And that's one of the reasons why they can't really have a concerted effort for the nation of Guyana the way the APNU does, because they're too worried about a bunch of different outside distractions, a bunch of different things that they've got going on that have been going on for corruption things for years. They really don't have the time to sit down and really put down an agenda, I think, that benefits the people of Guyana the way that the way that the people deserve. And so you could see it in these launches. Actually, you could see one party had a true message, the other just had the fluff, man. And they've been running on attacking the APNU, but at some point in time they're going to have to offer a real vision for all of the people of Guyana, not just say, hey, we're open for business, come on, let's make some money. No, you actually have to have a program for everybody, and I think that's where the PPP is lacking.
They lack a lot of things, a lot of substance. There's no message, and we're told that there will be a next cash grant pretty soon, maybe in about a week, 2 weeks time, maybe $250,000. We're hearing this time around $250,000 cash grants because the PPP, they have no message, they have nothing at all, and they have their actual launch that's going to be coming up in a few days' time, and they're spending, Tom and Wayne, hundreds of millions of dollars to bus people in, to boat people in, to fly people in to the country. Hundreds of millions of dollars. They cannot do it on their own. And so that is what they got to spend the taxpayers' monies to do. Mr. Caesar, your take on the dancing up and winding up, Lotte, Boji, and all these things compared to the coalition's launch yesterday.
Well, Mark, I would start off. Let me just start off by saying good evening to you, Mark, and good evening to Mr. Tom Anderson. Look, first of all, the music was good on both sides. All right? The music was good. There's no doubt about that. But I'm going to start off with the PPPC. The PPPC messaging has been horrible. The PR was horrible promoting their launch, because I could not believe that, I am here doing programs and I had no idea that the PPP had a launch in Albion, just about simultaneously as the coalition did. So that's to show how weak the PR was. I usually up to date when the PPP is having something. But what would have happened with the PPP is that they would have gotten tied up with these Thursday press conferences in which they come out and criticize the coalition on policies and even some past policies, without remembering the fact that the coalition was never in charge of Guyana or was never in government in an oil-producing Guyana. So that's a major disparity right there. Okay, the messaging, of course, is weak. They've never demonstrated as a party that they are a people-centric party. They are more so a transactional party. They care about investors, amongst other things, coming into the country. The PPP is a party that cares about money. But when we talk about money, not money that trickles down to the people of Guyana, money for themselves. So therefore, the messaging from the PPP did not resonate with the Guyanese people. And I am impressed, and I'm happy to say that the messaging from the PPP did not resonate with the Guyanese people. And that coincides with what I would have said earlier. What the PPP fails to understand is that they are dealing with a different dispensation of Guyanese. They have been watching these programs. Okay, they are edified, they are empowered, and they are ready to vote for change. And so when you look at what the opposition would have done at their launch, you understand me? They had clear messaging for the Guyanese people. They had a very clear vision. They were concise on policies. You understand me? And of course, I keep beating the drum when it comes to the rent to own, because I love that so much, because it will mitigate poverty. So I love the rent to own. I love the continued investment in free education at the university level and free education at all levels in Guyana. I love the investment in young people, amongst other things. So look, man, this was an excellent put together launch, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I want to thank all those who were involved. It was excellently done. Over to you.
Thank you. Okay, appreciate that. At 26 minutes after 9 o'clock, Tom Anderson with us. And those of you who are now joining us, good night and welcome to Straight Up. My guests tonight are Tom Anderson, no stranger to you guys, has been hitting it all the time in terms of corruption and warning you guys in terms of effect of OFAC sanctions. There's a difference with OFAC sanctions and what is called visa sanctions. Major difference, but we're going to get to that. Tom, let me ask you with regards to, as not necessarily an outsider, because you have been peeking into Guyana for quite some time now. How are you feeling the vibes as it pertains to the chances of the coalition slipping past the finishing line before the corrupt PPP regime? What is your take?
Well, I think they've got a good chance, and I think I think where the chance where they can really take advantage of the position they're in is, and it's something that they didn't hit on too much during their launch, but I think they can really hit on now. And it's this: the PPP and the WIN guys, they're caught up in fighting each other over international matters, things that have nothing to do with Guyana. And while those two parties fight with each other over things that have nothing to do with Guyana, right? Here's the APNU standing up for the people of Guyana. So this is where I think their opportunity is. So I think they have a great chance, because I don't think the PPP can stop fighting Azruddin Mohammed and the WIN guys. I think they're going to keep fighting tooth and nail all the way through, and they're going to both the PPP and WIN are going to make the presidential election about everything other than the people of Guyana. It's going to be about this, the Americans trying to do this, the Chinese over here, the Venezuelans over here. It's going to be all of this other stuff, but it's not going to be about what the people of Guyana need. And that's where I think the APNU has their ultimate chance to really pull it through.
And I agree with you in terms of others fighting for themselves, and it's not a situation that they want the best for Guyana. And I agree with you 100% on that, Mr. Caesar. Briefly, as we touch on the ground support of the opposition right now, are you seeing that not just in Georgetown Region 4, but in other parts of the country, based on you measuring it from Facebook and social media and word on the ground from your friends and relatives?
You know something, Mark? I am very, 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 what would I say, comfortable with what I would have seen thus far. And when you look at all parties across Guyana right now, and you look at them from a mass perspective, meaning supporters, I think the PNC has the lead right now. They have had the larger crowds. Their message, as I would have said, seemed to be resonating all across Guyana. So the message is getting out. And you know what's impressive about it is that they do not have the necessary funds available to them as the PPP does. So from a strategic perspective, the APNU, okay, is taking the PPP to school, back and forth. And like I would have said, you have to take into consideration also that all the people across Guyana has been looking at the right programming, and they have seen that the PPP has literally done nothing for them over the last 5 years, giving to the Guyanese people $500, which equates to approximately 100,000 Guyana dollars, and telling them to go out and create generational wealth with that. Mark, that does not equate, man, to the amount of money that would have passed through Guyana from just the oil resource. So people are starting to understand, and they know that a different government can do way better for them. So I believe that this is an uphill battle for the PPP, and I do not believe that they're going to catch up in this one. And look, all the opposition parties are on to them. Everybody is going to be looking at these elections closely, even people externally. CARICOM, the Carter Center, all the ambassadors, everybody are going to be looking in on these elections. And I don't believe that the PPP will have the chance to rig this election the way they are planning to do it. Over to you, sir.
Absolutely. Speaking of the rigging of elections and so forth, Tom, as you peek into Guyana, do you see those folks at the Guyana Elections Commission doing what is right in the interest of ensuring that they have free, fair, and transparent elections?
Well, they're going to do the best they can do. And I don't know if the people of Guyana are going to be happy with that. And that's one of the things I worry about, because it's really important. Imagine a nightmare situation where the APNU wins, but the voting somehow was messed up. Then you run into the situation where you have this international incident now and all this and that. And so I've been saying now for over a year, there needs to be a huge focus on getting the election right, whatever it takes, no matter who wins, because the worst thing that can happen is no one have confidence in the election results. regardless of who wins, right? And so I worry about that to this day. I think there's going to be a lot of international support, which who knows how that's going to pan out. But hopefully it can help, because I think right now Guyana may need the help on this a little bit, I think.
Lots of help indeed at 32 minutes after 9 o'clock. Wayne Caesar and Tom Anderson with us tonight. And good night to all of you, wherever you are now joining us. Wayne, your take on GCOM and its preparations for elections.
Well, of course, the preparation of the Guyana Elections Commission to this point leaves a very sour taste in my mouth. I mean, you had 5 years to get a new voters list and to get biometrics in place. It is shameful that that was not done. And that's more so because of the PPPC that I believe is controlling the Guyana Elections Commission. And I believe that the Guyana Elections Commission is no longer acting as an independent organ / body, but more so an extension of the PPPC. Hence, none of these electoral processes was put in place, and that leads to the apparatus being weak and Guyanese not being convinced that GCOM can put together free and fair elections on their behalf. And look, that further infringes on the democratic rights of the people, because I believe the Guyanese people deserve a free and fair elections. I feel that we have enough revenue pumping through the country that they could have create fiscal spaces within their budget to allocate the necessary monies to reform GCOM and to make sure that biometrics and a new voters list was put in place. They did not do that purposely, because the bloated list works favorably for the PPPC. So it's a shame. It's a shame, Mark, and this elections needs to be fair, because if it's not fair, I can see people crying foul, and I can see Guyana becoming an unstable nation, which nobody wants. Over to
thank you. 34 minutes after 9 o'clock. What is your take? We have a new administration here in the United States of America, and their eyes, all sort of eyes, looking into Guyana right now, whether it's corruption, whether it's sanctions, whether it's drug dealing, gold smuggling, whatever it is. And now it's dealing with elections. How would you explain the Americans looking into Guyana? And when I say the Americans, I'm talking about the guys out in Washington and so forth, 1600 Pennsylvania Ave and so forth. What do you think they might be thinking about this upcoming elections in Guyana? Tom?
Well, and this I spoke about this before, because I know how these guys operate and how they think. And here's the thing: even though we're really powerful as a nation and we have the ability to go in and investigate all kinds of stuff, our leadership in Washington, D.C. is pretty much clueless as to what's going on, not only around the world, but in our own country. They have no idea what's going on. These guys spend most of their time running around in fancy restaurants, raising money, talking to their wealthy donors to try to get cash. And they live the lives of kings and queens off of this campaign cash. And so this is what they're doing all day, every day. Now, the people who actually work in DC, they know a lot, and they know what's going on. But the problem is the political apparatus isn't one that's beneficial to harboring good judgment when it comes to nations like Guyana, unfortunately. Okay. And so that's the danger. And that's why I say, okay, when you have a guy like Azzuddin Mohammed get into the presidential race, what happens is you get these guys in DC, in the political part of DC, and all they see is, what? This guy's fully sanctioned on OFAC and he's running for president, and they don't care about anything else from then on. That's all they know. That's all they care about. That's all they see. And so everyone else, all the staffers, can tell them, but no, it's more complicated. You have to understand. They don't want to hear that. All they know is this man is fully sanctioned on OFAC. He's running for the president of that country. Why is this happening? That's all they want to know. And they want it not to happen. That's it. And like I say, they aren't very well informed, okay? They aren't. But they're the guys who are making the decisions. So when you have a situation like this one, it's unfortunate because what's going to happen is the forces in our government that are more hot-headed, that are more ignorant, they're going to be the ones who are going to want to pull the trigger on doing crazy stuff related to Guyana because this guy's running for president.
All right. Well, people, you got to vote smart. Vote for people who care about country. That's all. Vote for people who care about country. People jump, what about Trump? And it's always tempting to move the goalposts. You vote for people who.
Well, Mark, here's the thing about Trump.
Yeah.
Trump is a problem here because when Trump sees Guyana, he sees a nation. Okay, he sees the oil, and that's about it. Natural resources. Donald Trump doesn't care about the actual people of Guyana. He couldn't care less. And I don't care what anyone says, the man doesn't care. So when you have the leader of our country who also doesn't care about what's happening in our country, all he wants to know is, are we getting what we're supposed to get? Yes or no? That's it. That's all he cares about. So in that type of situation where you have political ignorance on our side, and you have leadership who doesn't care about your country politically, then all the people working underneath who do care about Guyana, it makes it that much harder for them to convince their bosses, their political bosses, hey, you should try to do it this way or that way. They don't want to hear these guys because the way they look at the diplomats and these guys is, oh, you guys are a bunch of nerdy idiots. You don't know anything. You're a bunch of liberals. You run around and you make fun and you make friendships with all these dark colored people. This is how they view it. I'm just letting you guys know, okay? And they're like, why are we going to listen to you liberal guys who are telling us about all these dark people in this country when all we care about is the oil and are we going to get it or not? This is how they operate. This is how they think. So when you have that situation, you know, the people going to have to realize America really is, we're not the enemy. And we're not the kind of country that's going out trying to just dominate. That's not how it works. It's way more complicated than that. As a matter of fact, what's happening here with the United States being involved with Guyana has a lot to do with other countries, because countries like Russia, China, Israel, Canada, the UK, all the EU, all of those countries have influence on our government. And that influence is reflected in our foreign policy towards nations like Guyana. So it's actually possible for the nation of Guyana to have a great relationship with China through us. Why? Because we actually have people in our government who can make things beneficial for China and Guyana. And that's sort of what they do. And the same thing goes for Israel, Russia. America isn't this what people think it is, like this colonial power that has a one-track mind and it's focused on whoever they want to take whatever they want. It's not like that. We actually have a lot of foreign influence right now in America. And that foreign influence comes with a lot of money. And that money goes to these politicians. And that's who they're going to listen to. So a lot of what you're seeing coming out of the United States isn't even our own really our policy. It's actually other countries' policies that they've paid our politicians to put through. So that's how complicated this is. And that's why I continue to say the best thing for the people of Guyana is to be strong enough to be an independent nation so that you don't have to depend on anyone on the outside. Okay, that you can't do that now. You have to depend on other people because you guys, for example, you can't even defend your own country with a military right now. You need our help to do that, right? And so while that's happening, you have to think to yourselves, well, okay, if the United States is using their military to protect our natural resources, what happens if we elect a guy who the United States has put under full sanctions? Well, is the United States still going to have our Navy protecting this oil? I don't know, because here's the thing. Your next door neighbor, Maduro, he nationalized everything from Exxon and everyone else, right? And so the chances are he's probably going to want to nationalize some stuff in Guyana and take everything that Exxon's doing out there like he did before. That's how it's going to be viewed from our side. So that's why this is such a tricky situation. And that's why I say, to me, the only real answer for the people of Guyana is to go politically with the party that isn't ensnared in this international stuff. That's the key.
Well said, Tom Anderson, giving his opinion there. And read between the lines, guys. It's saving Guyana, not to save an individual, not to save the corrupt individuals, but saving Guyana. Lots and lots of injustices. Lots of people have been murdered. There is no justice there at all. I don't know, Mr. Caesar, you want to add anything else to that question with regards to looking into Guyana and seeing what's happening in the eyes of the Americans?
Yeah, Mark, I can add a bit to that. What I would like to say to the Guyanese people, and yes, Tom is correct. You don't want to make the mistake and back somebody who has OFAC sanctions. Though I do have some questions about OFAC, and I don't have any question with regards to who was sanctioned. But I have questions to who have not been sanctioned. And I'm trying to understand, because if you're in Guyana and you're handing out sanctions, there's a lot of people who should be sanctioned in Guyana, but those people are not sanctioned. But
Maybe
I
not,
hope
maybe not yet.
as yet, yes. And I would like to see that done sooner than later, but time will tell. But what I would like to say essentially is that the PPP is paying some $50 million to have lobbying done in Washington on behalf of their party. And I hope that that lobbying does not, paint a picture in the brain set of Donald Trump that, hey, the government that is paying for this lobbying, let's have this government stay in place. Because what I would like to say is that that would not sit well with the Guyanese people. I know Donald Trump is at the helm of the most powerful nation in the world, but Guyana belongs to its people. And the Guyanese people should be allowed the democratic right to place in government the government that they see fit and the government that they see will work on their behalf. They don't need to have an external force, although that force is big from a military perspective, from an economic perspective, from every perspective. They should not have an external force infringe on their elections and determine which party or who sits in government. So Guyanese really have to stand up. They really have to stand up. They really have to stand out. They have to understand the situation, because someone can be sanctioned, Mark, and use the people actually to protect them. Because I have not seen any vision from the Win Party for the Guyanese people as yet. I need to see a vision. I need to see a team put together. I have not seen any of those things thus far. Over to you, sir.
Yep. Thank you so much. At 45 minutes after 9 o'clock, you're listening to Straight Up on this beautiful Monday night. Tom, as you look into Guyana, I'm not saying that you have a crystal ball looking into Guyana, and we're not going to say that we're pessimistic about the elections process, as it we're at least I am, about the outcome based on the setup there at the Guyana Elections Commission. I think it's corrupt. I think it's stacked. The cards are stacked in favor of the PPP in terms of corrupting and the bloated list and so forth. But based on what you're seeing now on the ground, Mr. Anderson, do you foresee violence in these elections?
I don't. I really don't. And the reason why I don't is because there are so many eyes watching and there's so much at stake that violence isn't really good for anybody. Outside of maybe, I can't say that, because the PPP and the Win guys, it seems to me like chaos and violence is what they need. That's what propels them. I just see a lot of anger out of them, a lot of confrontation. So maybe I don't know, man. Maybe out of them, you just can never tell when people are so desperate like they are, and the desperation is real. And that's the other thing about this situation, right? Where, remember, Azzuddin Mohammed, he's a PPP guy. He's always been in the PPP, and so whatever activities he was doing along with the PPP, which means that whatever investigations are going, parts of those investigations are on the PPP. So even if, let's say, Azzuddin Mohammed doesn't do well, let's say the PPP wins, they could win, and the nation of Guyana could have another leader under full sanctions, because no one really knows what Azzuddin Mohammed was doing with these other members of the PPP, right? So that's why I say the corruption has been so bad for so long that it's created an international incident. And a lot of people in Guyana domestically are thinking, no, the corruption doesn't cause international incidents. This is just America trying to take advantage of us. That's not true. I'm telling you, the corruption has created an international incident for your country. And the simple reason why is because we're talking about nations' national security. We're talking about people who are smuggling, not just gold, but drugs and everything else you can imagine. And that is what's funding terrorism around the world. It's what's funding gangs. It's what's funding the scourge of drugs on the streets throughout the United States of America, which we have a serious problem with. And so for anyone that sits there and says, well, that's an excuse, Guyana doesn't actually smuggle things in the United States, I'm telling you, a boatload, tons of stuff gets smuggled into the U.S. from Guyana. And it's all because of corruption. It's the corruption. And so the corruption now is breaking down the nation's security of Guyana. Your security now is at stake. You now have international nations all around you, buzzing all around, because the corruption is that bad. So that's the real issue here. And I'm glad that Aubrey Norton hit on that when he gave his speech. But that's the first thing he spoke about was the corruption, because not only does the corruption cause international problems, but the corruption depletes the nation of its own wealth. So you're being robbed blind by your own leadership. That's the situation. That's why I continue to say, hey, if anyone in your country is caught up in some international stuff where there's possibly investigations like the PPP, stay away from that, because your nation doesn't need that. Now you can say in your nation, well, we don't recognize other countries coming to us and saying that the PPP is corrupt. Well, you can say that, but that's not reality. Okay. Other countries are looking at the PPP and they're saying those guys are corrupt and we need to deal with those guys. Now, you guys in Guyana who want to say, no, that's not fair, that's fine. But I'm letting you know, there isn't any nation in the world that's going to allow the PPP to continue with the kind of corruption that they're at without anyone saying anything about it. And what you're seeing with the sanctions is America stepping in. But trust me when I tell you, Europe supports this. A bunch of nations support this, because it's in no one's interest to have so much corruption the way that it is right now in Guyana.
Well, Sir Tom Anderson, 50 minutes after 9 o'clock. My name is Mark Benchop. We go back to Mr. Wayne Caesar right here. Wayne, what is your take on the package? And I'm talking about the package, the presidential candidate and the prime ministerial candidate, the presidential candidate of the APNU, Mr. Aubrey Compton Norton, and the prime ministerial candidate, Mr. Retta Fernandes. How you think, not just the young population, voting population, but in general, Guyanese, how well you think they will be received come September 1st?
Mark, I believe that they will be very well received. And look, if you ask me to use one word, when I see the two of them together, that word would be competent. Okay? They are both very, very competent. They are both very, very accomplished. And when you talk about fulfilling the seats of president and prime minister in Guyana, you want to make sure that these people who are coming in to fill these seats, you understand me, have the necessary requisites or meet the necessary criteria and has the necessary portfolios to sit in these seats. And they both do. Okay, we saw it this weekend at the launch. All right, they were very clear and concise on policies. Not that alone, they both have clean, great characters. And you know, when you look at leaders, you look at their character. Okay, and I believe that APNU has done a great job by putting these two individuals as president and prime minister. And look, I'm really loving the prime minister's pick also. You know, a female, a mother, a wife, an accomplished mother, an economist, okay, you know, educated at the highest of level, have a master's in economics. Okay, she's not from IFLAT University. She's an accredited student, graduate of the University of Guyana. You know, so these are the things to me that stands out. And also, they are people-centric. They understand their role. They are here to serve the people. They understand that they are public servants. They are not here to get rich. Okay, you execute and you do your duties, it's automatic that money is going to come. You are going to make a salary, and a good salary at that. Okay, so this is understandable. Look, these guys are people-centric. The PPPC is transactional. So that is easy for the Guyanese people. Anybody would want a government that is geared toward making their lives better, that is geared towards taking 53% of the Guyanese population out of poverty and giving them some measure of prosperity. Anybody would vote for candidates that wants to give you an opportunity to rent and own your own place. You know, that is a dream of so many Guyanese, to have their own land and house, to have these type of things on a slate, to have the possibility of these type of things coming to pass, speaks volumes of this coalition opposition. So yes, they will be well received by the people, and they are going to be victorious September 1st. If it is that day that will be gazetted for the elections, they will be successful, I believe, overwhelmingly. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wayne Caesar. Getting all worked up. Over to you. Yes, and good night again. 54 minutes after 9 o'clock. Ms. Joretta Fernandez does have a degree in economics, but she has a master's in public administration. Mr. Thomas Anderson, what is your take on the makeup, the presidential candidate and the prime ministerial candidate of APNO?
That's great. I think she was a genius addition. I think there's a lot of jealousy coming at her. People are jealous and mad and upset. But I mean, she's excellent, and she has a great message, and she compliments Aubrey great. And she comes in, like Wayne said, knowing, you know, she knows what the job is, right? She understands the task at hand, and she knows that she's a public servant, and it comes through every word that she speaks. And so that's just, it's refreshing to be able to see that, you know, Guyana has politicians who are still of the mindset of being public servants. That's a rare thing. Okay. I mean, I'm sorry. It's something that we're getting fewer and fewer of. So within the APNU, man, the leadership is great. They've got so many people within the party who are of the same mindset. And it's just a wealth. It's just a treasure for the nation of Guyana. I think that people should realize that you guys really are lucky to have so many people in the APNU with so much talent and so much ability, and with the right mindset to be servants and not, you know, people cracking a whip over the population. So I thought it was excellent. I thought her speech was great. I think she's great with the people. I think she seems like a really popular person. So yeah, I just thought excellent pick. Really upgraded the party, I believe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas Anderson, and the message there of the APNU, PNC APNU. The message, we're beginning to see a message. People want to hear message. People want to hear what a political party can do for the country. People are tired of the bickering. They're tired of the cussing out, the stupidity. People are just tired of that. And Guyana must be able to breathe again. Mr. Anderson, what is your take on the smaller parties in these elections? And what role do you think they would play that would benefit the ones that are not connected now directly to the APNU coalition? Who you think they are going to benefit more, the PPP or APNU?
I tend to feel like it benefits the PPP because I feel like what the PPP is, I think what their strategy is to try to spread the vote out as much as possible, and to try to create some chaos. And between all of that, somehow, some way, they can slip something through. I mean, that kind of feels like their strategy on this. That's why I think a lot of people feel a little bit anger and a little tension towards them, because you can kind of tell like they're angling in ways to make it so that they can win, but maybe not above board win through some shenanigans. And so I worry a little bit about the smaller parties and just having everything split up so much that when it comes time to coalesce and have a coalition with them, whatever it is, however it goes in Parliament, that things go sideways. That's the worry. And remember, these guys have access to oil money. So who knows who they're going to try to be paying money to? It's going to be crazy, right? So that's how I kind of see it. Like, this might be a little bit too much chaos. I don't know, but I don't think so. I think what's going to happen here is the people of Guyana are really going to come down to two choices, the APNU or the PPP. That's what it's going to come down to. And all these other little parties, they'll get some votes and stuff, but it's really going to come down to those two. And like I've said over and over again, in that race, I think the APNU wins simply because the PPP, so much corruption. They've brought the international community into this thing. And if you're wondering, if you're saying, no, they didn't do it, well, they brought in this lobbying firm who they're paying all this money to. And by the way, that firm that they're paying is a very anti-Maduro firm. Okay. And it's led by a guy who has a lot of experience in areas of our government that in the past has turned out to be not so beneficial to us. I'll give you an example. Like, he's in these areas of government that this guy named Manuel Rocha was in diplomatically. Manuel Rocha was in our government for 40 years as a diplomat. And the entire time he was a Cuban spy. He just got convicted 2 years ago for this. We just found it out 2 years. And this guy was running around the Caribbean, South America, pushing literally Castro's agenda under the name of the United States of America. And they gave him a very high position. So within our own country, within our own ranks, we have spies in high places, in the types of places that the guy who runs, Carlos Trujillo, his firm and his experience, it's around these guys like Manuel Rocha, who for years we thought was our friend, but was really a Cuban spy. So there's a lot going on inside of our government that people aren't aware of. And it's stuff that really affects the region in Guyana. And I think at the end of the day, the PPP bringing in such a lobbying firm with that type of track record, with that kind of past, with that kind of guy leading it, him being so anti-Maduro, but then again, him being wrapped up with different agencies that had Cuban spies in it and everything else. This is a mess a little bit, what they brought in with this lobbying firm. And that's why when you saw Jack Dale's press conference, he said, look, no one in our government told that lobbying firm to attack Maduro or Azruddin Mohammed. We didn't want them. We never told them to do that. Yeah, they never told them. But the thing is, they hired an attack dog lobbying firm that's going to go after Maduro every chance they get, no matter what happens. So the PPP, what they basically did was they hired an attack dog and let him loose without being on a chain. And he went out and bit somebody, and they go, oh, well, we never told him to bite anybody. Well, you let the wild dog out without a chain. Of course he's going to bite somebody. So that's the situation that you guys are facing. Is you've got the PPP. They've brought in this really strong-armed firm, man. These guys are serious. And on top of that, you've got Mike Pompeo involved with these guys. You've got a lot going on internationally when it comes to the PPP, and they've just brought this whole international thing. And I think the reason why they've done it is because they're trying to deflect from all of the corruption they've been doing all of these years. And they think if they get the right lobbyists and they say the right things, they can get away with it. But I'm telling you, I don't think they're going to get away with it. And I think they're feeling just as much pressure as Azruddin Mohammed is. Okay, they are. And they are in just as much danger as sanctions as he is. They don't have them on them yet, but I'm telling you, man, if you look at their body language, if you look at how they're behaving, how they speak in their press conferences, to me, those guys are in danger of getting sanctioned too. So that's why when I look at this thing, I say to myself, man, there really is a clear and easy choice here. APNU is not caught up in all this international mess. The PPP is, and Azruddin Muhammad is former PPP, so that's why he's caught up in it too, because that's what those guys do. And it's, to me, it's like at this point in time in Guyana's history, leave the international stuff alone. Focus on your own country. That's what you guys need right now, and that's why I keep saying I think the APNU is the clear choice in this.
Tom Anderson, 2 minutes after 10 o'clock, international smear campaign. Watch out for the PPP, the corrupt PPP, and those who enabled them in the 2020 elections to rig the elections and to threaten people and to threaten to kill people and all manner of things. These people cannot parade themselves as though they are basically prepared to do good for Guyana. It's not going to happen. But what the PPP is going to attempt to do, they have failed over the past 5 years, is to paint the coalition as though they did something bad in the elections. There is no evidence to suggest that the PPP, that the PNC did, or the coalition did anything bad in the 2020 elections. In fact, it's the opposite. The PPP did everything bad in the elections with their corrupt friends and their cronies, some of whom are questionable characters. They threatened people's lives. They had big guns, all sorts of big guns, and they boast and brag about what they did to protect the PPP and all manner of things. You guys, I think Aubrey Norton said it the other day. Watch out for those people who are friends with the PPP. Who are friends with the PPP. They will become friends again with the PPP, and that is so right. And so when it comes to the elections and the rigging of the elections, look at what the PPP did in the 2020 elections. 6-1. 6-1 dead voters, 4,864 absent voters, 150 stuffed ballot boxes, 47 ballot boxes without documents, 1,278 missing oaths of identity. Serious rigging that led to the installation of the PPP regime, but serious rigging. Can we trust the riggers in the PPP and their friends who now branched out? Can we trust the riggers, the PPP riggers? Wayne Caesar, as we look at the time, 4 minutes after 10. Can we trust the PPP riggers, Mr. Caesar?
Absolutely not, Mark. The PPP was able to complete this exercise being out of government. They are now sitting at the helm. So let's sit down and think how long the process of rigging the 2025 election may have begun. Okay, hence the reason why the list has not been changed, right? They have not changed the list. They're still going with the same list. Look, for all those external overseers, CARICOM, the Carter Center, you had ambassadors, you had a whole lot of different people that did oversight for the 2020 elections. For all of them to come out and say that, look, we need a new voters list, okay? They need to be reformed. There needs to be electoral reform. For all of them to come out and say that and to have absolutely nothing done, it paints a picture that the PPP would have done something that was successful. I don't think deep down inside they expected it to work, but they lucked out and it worked. And you know the PPP, they're not innovative. They are not going to change and come back with something different, hoping to accomplish the same end result. They are going to come back with the same exact thing. It has worked before. Okay? And that is what they are going to attempt to do. And I'm gonna slightly disagree with Tom that there's not going to be any violence at this election. That cannot be guaranteed. Because right now, whenever you pull into a police stop in Guyana, it's not just the Guyana police force that stops you. It's the Guyana police force in coordination with Sheriff Corporation. So Sheriff Corporation will be doing a lot when it comes to ballot boxes and the polling stations and all these type of things, but they were never contracted by the government with the Guyanese people agreeing to it. There is no contract between Sheriff Corporation and the government. So look, this elections here, it is not going to be easy. That's why I urge people, when you go to your bundles, go to your crowd, so that you guys can be there and stand up for each other. Try not to go out on your own, because that's when you can be subject to bullying, right? Try to go out there in clusters. I am not confident in GCOM, period. I'm not at all. They're an extension, like I said earlier, of the PPPC. Claudette Singh will not hesitate to have the PPPC rig these elections again. Look, the money has been sweet. The PPP has tasted blood in the water. They want to stay exactly where they are, to continue their corrupt practices, to continue to rip the Guyanese people off. Look, all they have to give Guyanese for the next 5 years, if they're sitting there, is another 500 US, and that's it. That's nothing compared to the amount of money that is coming in for the PPPC and coming in as revenue to Guyana. So there's where the people got to come together, and the Guyanese people have to have their own strategy as to how they are going to approach these elections. And I want to also say, from an opposition perspective, please be sure to vet your scrutineers correctly and to make sure that all the polling stations are well manned. Please vet your scrutineers, okay? Because money seems to be a thing that really weakens the Guyanese people. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you so much. As we prepare to wind down, I've noticed some comments. It appears the PPP is always with violence, and we see it almost every elections. The PPP, in terms of they rely on outside forces other than the police force, and maybe some of the corrupt ones in the police force, to carry out violence for them and intimidation. The Phantom Squad, the killing squads, and all these different things. We heard from this guy what he did for the PPP.
No, I can't take them. I can't live with them. I could only take with me on why responsible. Me responsible for nothing. Me ain't got nothing to do with them.
What are you responsible for?
What are I responsible for? Years ago, they said I was in some killing squad. I can't deny that. I would not sit.
You can't deny that he was in a killing squad. His partner, Mark Zerke, who operated Obby's wine bar, was killed or died under questionable circumstances after they were charged with Bacchus's murder out in Guyana. Lots and lots of things. The PPP has a history. And then, of course, we heard that the Mohammeds, they said what they did. Oh, yeah, what they did for the PPP, and they gave an offer to PPP security. Well, what the heck is the Guyana police force doing? Now we hear of some sheriff security. It seems as though the sheriff security took over from where the Mohammeds left off. Whatever is happening in Guyana, I don't know, but I hope we don't go down the road of violence. It's what the PPP wants. The PPP is not going to leave office without violence. They will lose the elections, but they will create a chaotic situation, just as what they did at the GCOM headquarters with the help of their enablers, and we all know who their enablers were, who had the big guns then. Tom Anderson, two message you may have for the opposition right now in getting this thing right from now until September 1st.
Yeah, well, so I think it's simple. I think they got it right on the corruption side. And I think they also have it right when it comes to just the domestic policies. I think they've got the right politicians in place in the right positions. And I think they've got all of that. I think the one piece that's really important that I think they should really hit home every day, and it's the reality, is that they're the only party that's representing the people of Guyana without any kind of outside influence pressuring them to do this or that, without any kind of outside problems that are so huge that it drags, into the presidential election and creates controversy. They don't have that going on. And I think that's a huge benefit to them. And that's something that I think that they need to hit on every single day, because I believe every day that goes by, the PPP, more people within the PPP come under the investigative lens of not just the United States, but other countries too. It's not just us that have the issues with the corruption in Guyana. There are many. So the people of Guyana have a problem with the corruption, And all the people outside of Guyana do too. This is not, corruption makes everybody mad. If corruption hurts everyone's security, corruption makes everyone weaker, right? And so I just think, pointing this out over and over again, that these guys over there in the PPP, they really have created an international incident here with their corruption. And for Guyana to move forward in a way that's best for the people, Guyana needs to have a party that isn't wrapped up in international scandals based off of their corrupt dealings. Now, I'm not saying the APNU is perfect. I'm not saying they have all the answers. What I'm saying is they haven't risen up in corruption to the level of creating international incidents and having to bring in international lobbying firms to cover up all of the corrupted problems that they've created for themselves, because that's what's happening, right? And the reason why your neighbor Maduro is so confident in going up against your country is because he sees the corruption too. And when anyone sees a nation being led by corrupt people, they're going to want to come in and take what you've got, right? So that's the situation. And so as long as the PPP are in there running things, or anybody who's connected to the PPP is running things, right, you're going to have these international problems, because these guys bring these international problems into Guyana. It's not the outside world coming in. It's the PPP and the other corrupt people within Guyana who are bringing the outside in. Okay, that's what's happening here. And they're bringing some of the worst people into your country, by the way. They're not bringing the best of the world. And here's the other thing. The people outside who are here, like myself, who aren't here to hurt anyone, they want to push me away, right? But if I was corrupt and I was sitting here saying, oh, no, you know what? It's fine. Azruddin Mohammed, actually, it's the American government that's at fault. Azruddin Mohammed should run, and there should be no American involvement whatsoever. If I said that, here's the problem with that. Not only is it a lie, but it's a lie that would make people believe that, hey, there's nothing wrong here. Like, this is just fine. The PPP can be as corrupt as they want, bring in all these international problems, and there are no ramifications for it whatsoever. That's not the case. There are ramifications here, and I'm looking at the PPP, and they look worried. And all I'm saying is, I think for the opposition, this is their lane. Continue to hit home. The PPP are ensnared in international crap that has nothing to do with the people of Guyana. And if the people of Guyana want a bright future, they need to stay away from this international stuff. They need to go with a party that's going to focus on the people and strengthen the country from within before they go looking for business deals without.
Tom Anderson there for you guys, hitting it, massive level of corruption, and Guyana must be able to breathe again. And this is putting you on a sensible path. This is not about emotions and outbursts and all nonsense. This is putting you on the sensible path that Guyana needs to breathe again, and Guyana needs to be saved from corrupt individuals. If you can't understand or read between the lines, then something is wrong. It is too corrupt right now under the PPP regime and their cronies. We know who their cronies are. Mr. Caesar, as we prepare to hit, I got to go and hit my hammock. That's my lifestyle and nothing else. In a garage, in a hammock, just throw back and live a nice life. Wayne Caesar, closing remarks, please. 2 things that you will advise the coalition to stay on course with until September 1st.
Yeah, Mark, I would advise the coalition to stay on message. I believe that, and I'll say it again, their message has resonated greatly with the Guyanese people. Look, the coalition is not a corrupt umbrella. And if you're not corrupt, it's obvious that you're going to resonate with the people. They need to stay on track. All PNCR members or anybody associated with the PNC, they need to keep themselves clean. I believe that they just about have this wrap up. But my message is more so, I would like to send a message more so to some of the smaller parties. and that would include the People's Movement with Apostle Nigel London, Forward Guyana with Amanda Walton this year, and VPAC with Darwin Best, particularly those guys and the Simona Brooms Party. I believe that those guys should come under the coalition umbrella. I mean, they have until next Monday to do so. I believe when you want to form a new party, it's nice to get under an umbrella and build your party from there, brand your party, and do what you have to do, because that umbrella provides protection, certain protections to you as a party, and not you having to be out there and deal with everything on your own as a small party. And also these guys, the vision of these parties that I would have just mentioned, it aligns with the larger vision, which is the APNU vision. Okay, so they are like-minded people. So I believe it would be in their best interest to come on and join. You know, I reached out to Comrade Nigel Hughes today. I hope that he reaches out back to me. But I believe, you understand me, that all of these parties underneath the umbrella would be totally unbeatable. Okay, it would be a great thing for the Guyanese people not to have separate factions to deal with, but to deal with one large party with like minds thinking and everybody working in the best interest of Guyana and its people. So I look forward and I wait to see what is going to happen and what's going to transpire by next Monday. And I'm hoping for the best, but I am not worried. I'm going to say this now. I am not worried about the opposition. I think the PPP needs to be worried. Thanks to all our listeners and viewers. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mark. Now over to you, Mark.
Thank you. All right. 19 minutes after 10 o'clock. Mr. Anderson, I tell you what, for over 3 years now, the PPP were scared. The PPP is not scared now. Jack Day, with several of his press conferences or so-called press conferences, were urging his supporters to go out there and battle those guys, battle us on social media. Because then, over 2 years ago, nearly 3 years ago, they were losing this battle. You guys stay focused, read between the lines. They were losing this battle 3 years ago. They know it. They know that the people are fed up of the PPP, fed up with them and their nonsense, because people were, Jack Day, they kept spending hundreds of millions of dollars. And Jack Day asked that question nearly 3 years ago. What is it that meaning people like us on social media are doing to beat them at their game, their so-called game, and they are not winning this battle? So don't think that this is an overnight kind of thing where somebody just pops up and pretending like the Mohammeds, pretending like they care about Guyana and pretending that they care about you. Do not be fooled, guys. Do not be fooled at all. Guyana needs to be saved. Guyana needs good people, competent people who can able to put Guyana on the path to be able to breathe again. This is not a barking match, rough, 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 rough. It's not a barking match. It is serious politics, called for serious thinking, not emotions and bumps raised and whatever. Serious thinking. Tom, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to getting that book. I want people to go out there and buy your book. Read it for those who love to read. People who don't love to read may say otherwise, but people who love to read and understand when they read. Mr. Wayne Caesar, I hope you get a copy of Tom's book as well. Gavin Caesar and all of you out there, hope you get a copy of his book. Corinne Ben, John Levin, all of you. I can't call all of your names right now, but God bless all of you. This is my message to you. You've got to fight to keep the PPP out of office. Keep corrupt individuals out of office. And all of you on social media, you have your role to play. Stay positive, Don't allow your bumps to be raised. Don't allow people to raise your emotions. Do not be distracted by noises. Do not be distracted. Stay on course. September 1st is around the corner. You know what you have to do. Thanks, guys. All of you. I'm out of here. God bless you. Let's do some dancing before we go, Wayne, and let's do some dancing.
Let's go.
Yeah, my name is Jasniti Kaldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
There and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
So my relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Good morning. My name is Basil Blackman, AA. I'm a former... Good morning. My name is Basil Blackman, AA.
गोरी 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 कभी कभी कहीं कहीं चोरी चोरी छुप छुप के तुम मिला करो प्यारी प्यारी बातें बातें किया करो पर यूं ना मिलना किसी से कभी हमारे सिवा गोरी 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 बोले बोले नए नए गोरी गोरी I can't take it no more. I can't take it no more. Can't take it no more. Imagine 18 hours of blackout and you're telling people progress. Cost of living gone up 100%, yet you give public servant less. Mr. President, listen to the people. Search your soul and you will confess. I want you try surviving on the public base, then you're gonna know but stress. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. They don't drive no fear with the citizen. They may want the people speak out. Freedom of speech done gone inside the gutter. Knock off when you open your mouth. Discrimination in entertainment. And you're talking about one Guyana. When the ministry of culture